The sun hung low over the rugged Afghan mountains, casting long shadows across the dusty valley where Staff Sergeant Ryan Carter and his military working dog, Theo, patrolled. The air was thick with tension, the kind that clung to your skin and made every sound, a distant rockfall, a faint whistle of wind, feel like a warning. It was 2012, and their unit, part of a joint task force, was sweeping a remote village in Kandahar province for insurgent activity. Ryan, a lean, sun-weathered soldier with 5 years in the army, trusted Theo more than he trusted most people. The German shepherd, with his sharp amber eyes and unflinching focus, had saved Ryan's life more times than he could count. Theo wasn't just a dog. He was a soldier, trained to detect explosives, track scents, and alert to danger. He'd been with Ryan for 3 years, through countless missions in Iraq and Afghanistan. They'd forged a bond in the crucible of war, silent understanding in a glance, a nudge of Theo's muzzle against Ryan's leg when the nights got too heavy. Theo's loyalty was absolute, his courage boundless. At night, when the base was quiet, Ryan would sit with Theo, sharing scraps of his MRE and talking about home in Montana, where the mountains were green and the air didn't smell of cordite. This mission was supposed to be routine: clear the village, check for IEDs, and move on. The intelligence suggested minimal insurgent presence, but Ryan had learned to trust Theo's instincts over any report. As their squad moved through the narrow mud-walled alleys, Theo's ears twitched, his body tense. Ryan signaled for the team to slow. "What is it, boy?" he whispered, crouching beside Theo. The dog's nose twitched, his hackles rising as he stared toward a cluster of abandoned buildings at the village's edge. Before Ryan could relay the warning, the world erupted. Automatic gunfire cracked from the rooftops, pinning the squad in the open. "Ambush!" shouted Lieutenant Perez, diving behind a low wall. Bullets chewed the ground, kicking up clouds of dust. Ryan dropped to a knee, Theo at his side, scanning for cover. The squad returned fire, but the insurgents had the high ground, their rounds snapping too close. Ryan's radio crackled with orders to fall back, but a narrow choke point, a crumbling archway, stood between them and safety. Theo's low growl pulled Ryan's focus. The dog's nose was pointed at the ground near the archway, his body rigid. "IED," Ryan muttered, his stomach sinking. He signaled the squad to hold position. If they moved through the choke point, they'd trigger the explosive. If they stayed, the insurgents would pick them off. Ryan's mind raced. Theo could guide them, sniffing out a safe path, but the gunfire was relentless, and time was running out. "Carter, we gotta move," Perez yelled, his voice strained as he fired at the rooftops. Ryan looked at Theo, whose eyes locked onto his, steady and unafraid. "All right, boy," Ryan said, clipping Theo's lead. "Find us a way." Theo sprang forward, nose low, weaving through the alley as bullets whined overhead. Ryan stayed close, relaying Theo's signals to the squad. The dog paused at a fork in the path, sniffing intently, then veered left, away from the archway. "This way," Ryan shouted, waving the squad to follow. Theo's instincts were flawless, guiding them through a maze of walls toward a dry riverbed that offered cover. They were almost there when Theo froze, his ears pinned back. Ryan's heart stopped. Before he could react, Theo lunged, shoving Ryan hard with his shoulder. The force knocked Ryan to the ground, his rifle skidding across the dirt. In that split second, a figure emerged from the shadows, an insurgent barely 20 feet away, raising an RPG. The rocket streaked toward them, a blur of smoke and death. Theo didn't hesitate. With a fierce bark, he charged the insurgent, leaping as the rocket fired. The explosion was deafening, a fireball engulfing the alley. Ryan's vision blurred, his ears ringing as he scrambled to his knees. "Theo!" he screamed, his voice raw. The squad opened fire, cutting down the insurgent, but Ryan's eyes were on the smoke where Theo had been. When the dust settled, Ryan's world shattered. Theo lay motionless, his once vibrant fur matted with blood and ash. The rocket had detonated mid-air, Theo's charge forcing the shooter to fire wild. The blast had spared Ryan and the squad, but Theo had taken the brunt. Ryan crawled to him, tears cutting tracks through the grime on his face. "No, no, no," he whispered, cradling Theo's head. The dog's eyes, dimming but still warm, met his. Theo's tail gave a weak thump, and then he was gone. The squad reached the riverbed, fending off the insurgents until air support arrived, pounding the rooftops with precision strikes. The village fell silent, but Ryan felt nothing. He carried Theo's body back to base, refusing help, his arms trembling under the weight. The squad watched in silence, their faces etched with respect and grief. Theo wasn't just their dog. He was their brother. Back at the base, Ryan sat alone in the kennel, Theo's collar in his hands. The worn leather still smelled of him, earth and loyalty. The commanding officer approached, placing a hand on Ryan's shoulder. "He saved us all, Carter. That dog's a hero." Ryan nodded, unable to speak. Later, they held a small ceremony, the squad standing at attention as Theo's name was added to the unit's memorial wall. A posthumous commendation was sent to the kennel master, but Ryan didn't care about medals. He wanted Theo back. Ryan finished his tour, but the war followed him home. Montana's mountains were as beautiful as he described to Theo, but they felt empty without him. He struggled with the silence, the guilt, the what-ifs. One day, he received a package from the kennel master, a framed photo of Theo, mid-stride, eyes bright with purpose. A note read, "He knew what he was doing. He chose you." Ryan hung the photo in his cabin, next to his own service medals. He started volunteering at a local shelter, training dogs and telling them about Theo, the bravest soul he'd ever known. Sometimes at dusk, he'd sit on his porch watching the stars and feel a nudge against his leg. A memory, a ghost, a bond unbroken. Theo's sacrifice wasn't just a moment. It was a legacy. In the annals of war, where heroes are counted, Theo's name stood tall. A military working dog who gave everything to protect his handler, his squad, and the mission. And for Ryan, Theo was more than a hero. He was family,